Now, in order to use candor, we really have to set the stage. So you have to really permit candor in your work group in order for it to work. And one of the pieces of permitting candor is setting the stage to say, you know what, I really do want to hear from you. I really do want to create a dialogue of communication that allows me to get your perspective and for you to also engage in feedback from me. And the feedback can be about where are the growing points with people? Where are the points where processes within the work group or within the organization need to be adjusted or adapted? Where are the places that people are doing really good? You know, where are those positive components, not just the negative pieces? So where do we and how do we set up the culture of the work group or the organization to have this open feedback that allows people to come to either their manager or their manager to go to them? Because we're really looking for a reciprocal dialogue, not a one-way dialogue. When we're looking at candor, we also want to consider how we are using timing in our delivery of candor. When we lead, there's always a context, right? So there's a context for us as leaders, and there's a context for employees. There's a context within the work that they're doing as much as there's a context within the work that we are doing. So looking at timing, we have to consider things like location. Is it best to give any kind of feedback or gather feedback in a situation that is a group-oriented situation, or is it better to get feedback from an individual, do a one-on-one conversation, send out a survey? Is it best to create more of a place where people have indirect communication, or is it a place to have direct communication? Personally, I find that when you have multiple avenues for communication, you actually have a better platform and a better culture for candor. So there are people who will want to take the time to engage one-on-one. There are people who will want to take the time to engage through a survey. And there are people who will want to take time to engage through group dynamics. All three of those need to be cultivated in order to allow candor to be part of your engagement process. So it's not really a let's check this one box and just call it good. We're really looking for how do we create a full system that says, you know what, whatever is best for you, we're going to adapt and we're going to create that opening for all of the employees and all of the leaders. When we're looking at setting the stage, one of the key components with really engaging in candor is getting permission. So taking the time to get permission from the person to be candid. Now, once again, this is a two-way street. So when we're looking at candor, it's not just about me as the leader getting permission from my employee to be candid with them. It's also about them getting permission from me to be candid back. I've worked in a lot of different places, and my work history, I've been named as the person who you go to if you really want to know the answer. So candor has never been something that I've had an issue having. The issue that I have had in work groups is that I have had a tendency to really have to learn when to not be candid. So specifically, I was in one work group where one of my colleagues was saying, you know, that Jodi, she's really quiet. And there was another woman who was on the team and she's like, no, she's not. Just go ask her. If you ask her, she'll tell you. But if you don't ask her, she won't tell you. That was how I had adapted to candor, into using candor. There are different times that I have used it in team meetings that have been appropriate as far as idea sharing. You know, it's okay to be candid in idea sharing when you have that kind of culture that supports it. The other piece is I've also had times where I have not. I've stepped into being candid when it wasn't appropriate. I've also learned to ask permission. I've also learned that in asking permission, some people will say yes when they mean no. And you also have to work through those processes with people too. But really setting up that piece that says, okay, I want your permission to be candid, and I want to give you my permission to be candid too. That is one of the foundations for incorporating candor into your work groups.